Hello everybody, welcome back to another Triforce Tuesdays series. It is your boy Kokiri here once again. So I did say in my Wind Waker video that I was going to be playing Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks in the future. However, things are going to change for one particular problem. So I owned both games on the Wii U Virtual Console, and I ran into some issues with my Wii U gamepad, especially for the microphone, even though I'm going to be needing it for both of those games, mostly Spirit Tracks the most. And it turns out it's a little bit wonky. So I'm sorry to say that the playthroughs for Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks sadly have to be canceled, so we'll be sticking to a podcast. So I really do apologize for the inconvenience though. But if you guys are new to the channel, if you guys love my Triforce Tuesdays series, please don't forget to do the following by liking, sharing, and subscribing to this video. But also, guys, be sure to go in and follow my good friend and mod Sora on Twitch as well. I will drop a link to his Twitch channel right in the description down below. So be sure to go ahead and come find him on Twitch. Come say hello to both of us. We'd be happy to see you. But Sora, how are you feeling today?
Feeling pretty good. Been tired all day because yesterday was a long day. I won't go into details, but other than that, feeling pretty good. Just been chilling most of the day, doing my own thing, had me some coffee before stream, and yeah, just doing pretty good right now.
You gotta love the coffee.
All the coffee.
You gotta
especially
love it.
Since I put French vanilla creamer in it.
Ooh, that sounds pretty good. That sounds really good. But anyway, so Sora, why are we here today?
We are here to discuss two, in my personal opinion, two underrated Zelda titles.
Yes. Yeah, so today we will be talking about both Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, and Sora and I will be going into deep discussions in terms of theories and lore from both titles. So be sure to strap in, grab yourself a snack or drink, anything that you feel more comfortable with, or heck, even grab a blanket, why don't you, to feel comfortable.
Yep, grab a blanket, get yourselves cozy, get a snack, get a drink, get some coffee, just get whatever you feel like.
Yes, get a snack, but mostly it's gonna be a boy named Nick.
Exactly.
Because when he follows you back, and you celebrate with a swift snack.
Goldfish.
Yes, that's our Nick. But anyway, are we ready, chat?
Are we ready?
Are we ready, Sora? Are we ready? Okay.
I am ready.
Alright, y'all. So, I'm gonna go in and let Sora take the stage, as he's gonna give us a rundown on Phantom Hourglass. So, Sora, take it away, and then we'll talk about it.
Alright, sounds good. So, as Cook here said, I'm going to give like a short summary, or I'll try to keep it short at least, on both of the games before we start talking about them, starting with Phantom Hourglass. I actually just got this typed up right before we got started, so it's probably not the most well-structured, but I think it's structured well enough. So, to sum things up, The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass is the direct sequel to 2002's Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, released worldwide in 2007, with the exception of South Korea, which got the game in 2008. The game also received a re-release on the Nintendo Wii U through the Virtual Console service in North America within 2016, which was the last release the game got. The game follows Link, who is joined by Tetra and her pirate crew, who set out to sea in search of the new land where they are to establish New Hyrule, due to the aftermath of Wind Waker's Hyrule being flooded by the goddesses, and ultimately washed away due to the last wish from the King of Hyrule upon touching the Triforce. During their travels, the crew are met by a mysterious and ominous-looking ghost ship, which Tetra decides to board out of curiosity of treasure being on board, and doubting that it's actually a ghost ship. After screaming upon boarding, Link attempts to jump up on the ghost ship to save her, but ultimately falls into the sea, washing up on shore on an uncharted island. It's here where Link is woken up by a fairy who resides here, named Ciela, who takes Link to meet her grandfather, Oshus. After some convincing, he allows Link and Ciela to go to the Temple of the Ocean King, a mysterious rundown temple that was once a sacred place that had been taken over by an evil force known as Bella. It is here where Link and Ciela meet Lineback, a self-centered and arrogant sailor who was trapped here, and informs Link that this place is capable of draining the life force from those who enter. After freeing Lineback, Link is forced to team up with him to find the ghost ship, save Tetra, and defeat the demon known as Bellum, who is out to steal the life force from the people who reside in the Ocean King's Great Sea. And that right there is the big rundown of Phantom Hourglass as a story.
It's a pretty good story. So just to sum things up, of course, this is definitely the same Link from Phantom Hourglass. I mean, from Wind Waker, because if you guys remember at the end of Wind Waker, this is where Tetra and the pirates definitely set out to find a new land. Because if y'all remember at the end of Wind Waker, before the King of Hyrule, or also known as the King of Red Lions, went down with his castle at the end of Wind Waker, he informs Princess Zelda about for her and for Link to go find themselves a new land that would be theirs, which of course later on we'll find out that it'll be called the New Hyrule. So,
yep.
Honestly, it's kind of an interesting story though. It's a really, really interesting yet solid story for mostly a game that is very underrated, but it's got some pretty good charm. It's got some classic characters like Lineback, who's kind of a dick, but in the end he turns out to have a little bit of a soft spot, but I like how he mostly turns out that he was just a coward, and he kind of confirms that he was a coward. I mean, think about the times he had to hide from Jolene the pirate.
He's basically the Zelda universe's version of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Pretty much. He's pretty much Jack Sparrow, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing I do want to talk about, Sora, is I want to talk about this force kind of stuff though. So we talked about force and life force though. So we all know what is the main thing in terms of the title card for Phantom Hourglass, and that is of course, Phantom Hourglass. So
yep.
And throughout every island and every dungeon that Link goes through in this game, you see him fighting enemies and monsters throughout dungeons and stuff like that. And you can see that after vanquishing them, especially the dungeon's bosses, you can see that the enemies and bosses, including Bellum himself later on, they actually turn into hourglass sand, which of course represents the sand of hours for the Phantom Hourglass itself, which Link and Ciela need in order to get through the Temple of the Ocean King, because the Temple of the Ocean King the Temple of the Ocean King is a cursed place.
It is very cursed.
It is cursed, and when you walk in at the beginning, you can see that there are lying corpses lying on the ground, and you're just like, what the hell happened here? Why is there dead bodies here? I mean, not to mention, this isn't the first time that we've seen death in a Zelda game. Truth be told.
No, it's not. It's not, but it is the first time we've seen it to that extent, because you never really see, dead people just laying around, in any other Zelda game.
Yeah, and not to mention, we've even seen ghosts too, like Link interacting with ghosts. Think about the ghost KO on the Isle of Ember, who Link talks to after speaking with Astrid about what he needs to do on his journey.
Right.
That is definitely as part of it. But going back to the topic of force, so what are your thoughts on the whole life force thing being the whole major topic of this?
It's kind of not really uncommon for a Zelda game, though, if you think about it, because every Zelda game kind of uses the whole force thing in some way or another, and Phantom Hourglass just kind of sort of uses it in a similar yet different way, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I kind of see go ahead.
You go ahead. What was you about to say?
No, I was gonna say, there's been times where, there's been all kinds of different forces, though. You've seen, of course, take, for example, we've had a life force. Heck, take that in relation to Minish Cap, to how, when Vati was a purple sorcerer who was searching for the life force that Princess Zelda have. And
yeah,
now that we have a very underrated yet dark and creepy villain like Bellum, who definitely just goes around, and definitely he is the creator of the ghost ship, who even who started this rumor about stories like how people who find the ghost ship are said to discover treasure, which occurs, of course, it's a trap to set up for prey to have their life force taken away. And this is a creature who's pretty messed up. Even though while it speaks no language or talks like any other antagonist of the Zelda series, this creature has a mind of its own to where it just wants to like devour someone's life force of anyone or anything that gets in his way. And like just to set up like a little like the ghost ship is pretty much like bait for people.
Yeah, and I was actually going to go into Miniscap's light force as kind of a similar example to that. So we were on the same page there.
Okay, yeah. Not to mention, though, we all know that that also it was Bellum who also placed a curse on the Temple of the Ocean King, which explains why there are the dead bodies on the ground.
Yep, and that's also the reason why the place literally drains your soul the longer you're in there.
Exactly. Well, thanks to the Phantom Hourglass, you can spend as many time as you want. But also, one thing I do want to talk about, something Sora, are the bosses and the enemies that you see in this game. Now, I don't know if you noticed though, but if you look closely to each of the enemies and bosses' eyes, if you look at their eyes, they kind of have that little Bellum eye mark, but a different palette.
Right.
So honestly, you can tell that these are most of Bellum's forces because after Link vanquishes them, they all turn into the Sand of Hours, and even this is even confirmed that Oshis is actually turns out to be the Ocean King himself, who was the one who actually crafted the Temple of the Ocean King, and the only reason why he's an old man is because he got his life force extracted from Bellum himself.
Yep. Which is kind of sad yet interesting if you think about it.
It is.
Yeah, because it honestly shows that he plays a much bigger role in the story than most people really give him credit for.
Exactly. And so one thing I do want to talk about, I like how the world of the Temple of the Ocean King, I honestly have to think about like how this is mostly, I guess you can probably agree that this is kind of like a parallel universe to the Great Sea.
Yeah, like, one thing I actually have to say about that, it's kind of like, how can I put it? It's kind of like Termina from Majora's Mask. It's literally an alternate world of the one that you were in previously. Like, Ocarina of Time's Hyrule to Majora's Mask Termina. You go from Wind Waker's Great Sea to Phantom Hourglass's Great Sea, but they are two completely different worlds.
Exactly. And honestly, this is the first time we've entered in an alternate universe throughout the Zelda series. Like, honestly, take for example Koholint Island from Link's Awakening. Like, that was pretty much an entire world drained up by the Windfish himself. And however Link has entered upon it. So, this isn't the first time that we've dealt with parallel universes or an alternate world crafted by other characters.
Yeah. The only difference between this one and other ones, though, is if you pay close attention, you'll notice none of the residents in this world actually represent any residents from previous worlds. Like, for example, Koholint Island, a lot of the characters there were kind of modeled after the ones from the Oracle games, kind of.
This is true.
And of course, in Majora's Mask, most of the residents there were basically modeled after Ocarina of Time's residents.
This is actually true.
Like, some people say it's due to, like, them just reusing assets and models and whatnot for time constraints. But the way I see it is, they do this as a way to show that this is literally a parallel world to where you were at. But Phantom Hourglass does things differently here, because none of the characters here resemble any other characters from the Great Sea in Wind Waker.
Yeah, exactly. And then, like, I want to talk about Oshis for a little bit. And we all know, like, at the end of Phantom Hourglass, after Link gets the rest of the Sand of Hours, after killing Bellum and saving Linebeck, who Bellum actually possesses and turns into Bellum for the final boss fight, which of course I thought that was insane. We all know that the whole time this was his world, and he's actually legit a whale. So
yeah,
the Ocean King was, and I kind of feel like that. Oceus, the Ocean King, not only was he a whale, but he was kind of like a calling guide or like a spirit, kind of similar to the owl from Link's Awakening, who mostly played as a spirit and guide for the Windfish.
Yeah, speaking of that, you know who he reminds me of whenever he turns back into a whale?
Tell me.
The Windfish himself. He's literally a parallel version of the Windfish.
He kind of does, and you know what? This is the first time that we've dealt with whales in Zelda. Like, honestly, we've had Jabu Jabu from Ocarina of Time, but honestly, maybe there probably might be a connection with all these whales that we have going on throughout the Zelda universe. Like, we have, like, you know, we have Oshus, the Ocean King himself. We have, you know, Jabu Jabu over and from Zora's Fountain and Ocarina of Time. Heck, we even have, of course, like you said, the Windfish itself. But you know what? There is another whale that we are definitely forgetting, Sora.
Which one? I'm blanking on it.
Levias.
Levias!
Yes, Levias from Skyward Sword. The one who was within the thunderclouds. So honestly,
I hate that frickin' fish.
Now, here's the thing. Do you think that all these whales together might have a connection to one another?
I think so, because if you think about it, there's one thing that these whales all have in common.
Yeah?
They're all deities of some kind.
They really are. They really are all deities.
Yeah, like, I think at least 3 of them are literal gods.
Like, definitely Levias for sure.
Yeah,
knowing that he has a connection with the dragons themselves.
Yeah, but also if you think about it, so is the Ocean King. The Ocean King is basically a literal god as well.
This is true.
Because, like you stated earlier, that whole world that Phantom Hourglass takes place in, that's his world. He created it.
Exactly. He definitely did create it. Now, there's one thing we notice about we do have a new companion. Of course, we already talked about Lineback, but I want to talk about Cielo real quick. So with her, we all know that at the beginning of Phantom Hourglass, you know, she lost her memory, and then of course later on, after Link goes on a quest, we find out that there are 3 fairies that actually represent the 3 golden goddesses, being, of course, we have the Fairy of Power, the Fairy of Wisdom, and the Fairy of Courage. And I kind of think that, do you think maybe they might have a connection? And maybe they play a role as like the parallel universe of the golden goddesses, but as fairies?
Yeah, like, the way I kind of saw them was they were basically this world's version of the Triforce.
Yeah.
Because think about it like this. Mm-hmm. You got the 3 golden goddesses in Hyrule. What do they represent? Power, wisdom, and courage, correct? Yep. They are literally 3 goddesses, aka 3 sacred deities. Yep. Now, if you look at the fairies in Phantom Hourglass, they also literally represent power, wisdom, and courage as well. The only difference is they're fairies. But these fairies are not just normal fairies. These fairies are actually more so deities than normal fairies.
Yeah, they really are normal fairies. So they honestly, I feel like that Ciela and who plays a role as the Fairy of Courage, and then of course you have the Fairy of Power and the Fairy of Wisdom. They mostly are like this world's version of the Triforce, except, you know, there's no Triforce here in this world or in this universe. It's mostly just fairies, because there's actually is no mentioning of the Triforce. The only part of the Triforce that's definitely mentioned in the beginning of the game is only in, of course, in Hyrule's world, not in the world of the Ocean King.
You want to know what I find interesting, though, and I actually just thought about this?
Tell me.
Out of all 3 of those fairies, Ciela is the only one that actually has a name. The Fairy of Power and Fairy of Wisdom don't have names.
Actually, I think they do.
Do they?
They do.
Their names are never mentioned, though.
I thought they said they have a name. I think yeah, because I know there was there's three of them. It's Ciela, Leaf, and Neri.
Oh, okay. I don't remember them mentioning their names.
Yeah, they definitely say it like after you rescue them. So Leaf represents the spirit of power. Neri almost kind of sounds a little bit similar to Nehru. Is the fairy of wisdom, and Ciela is of course the fairy of courage.
Gotcha. Okay, I need to go back to Phantom Hourglass again, evidently.
But yeah, they do all have names, and I like to think like how both Leaf, Neri, and Ciela, as you know, they kind of play as role as like guardians, kind of like the golden goddesses of Hyrule, since they represent power, wisdom, courage, and not to mention there are also connections to power, wisdom, and courage. Think about the Force gems that you find in this game, along with the power gems that you find. And what emblems do they have on there? Power, wisdom, and courage.
Yep, the exact same ones.
And they have the color that represents it. Like, of course, you have the power gem representing red, the wisdom gem representing blue, and the courage gem representing green.
Not to mention the Force gems are also literally modeled after the Triforce.
They literally are, but you know what? I also thought of something too, Sora. This isn't the first time that in a Zelda game that we've dealt with Force gems. Of course, we will talk about this next for our next game in Spirit Tracks later on. But you know what? There is another game that definitely requires Force gems, and that is Four Swords Adventures.
Yep, that is true.
So they kind of have a little significant role into like having a little Triforce kind of power. So honestly, to me, like, throughout the entire Zelda series, like, anything that has the word Force in it has, like, a key component. Because you have, like, Life Force, and then you have just regular Force, and then you have Life Force. Like, there's, like, so much Force going on in this game. It's, like, throughout the series.
Yep.
It's crazy.
Life, Triforce. Like, too many forces. But you know something interesting, though?
Tell me.
And regarding all of those, in Japan, literally all of them are just known as Force. AKA they all derive from the same thing.
This is true. They literally are true, though. So, my question is, theory-wise, so, of course, we talked about who our main antagonist is in Phantom Hourglass, and that is Bellum. So,
yes.
My question is, Sora, and we'll talk about it right now. So you know how each character, like each villain has an origin. Like we all know about how Ganondorf rises as an incarnation of the Demon King Demise. Vati used to be an apprentice for Aslo, and like, you know. And then of course we have our other villain who we're gonna talk about later in Spirit Tracks later on. So my question is, where do you think Bellum came from?
Okay, that's a little bit of a tricky one, but after I put some thought into it after watching that theory video, and there was one thing that kept sticking out, and that is Bellum was also known as a demon.
This is true.
So if we think about that, going back to Demise's curse, and how his curse is basically also known as the demon's curse.
Yep.
What if Bellum was born from that too?
That could be really interesting, because here's the thing. When you go back to the beginning story in Skyward Sword, do you remember about that battle with the goddess Hylia? How there was like a plague of demons, and Hylia had to cast them away? So it could be a possibility that Bellum definitely was one of those demons, along with the other demon who we're going to talk about in the next game real soon.
Yeah, but there's a little more to it than this. So, like, unlike other demons, though, I think this is the first quote-unquote demon figure that was fought by the same hero as another one. Because keep in mind that literally in the game before this, we had to fight Ganondorf again, who's still, you know, a demon king. He's not portrayed as one, but he is one.
This is true.
Yep, and literally, also keep in mind, Phantom Hourglass uses the same Link from Wind Waker, because it takes place right afterwards.
This is definitely true.
Yeah, but I think there is an explanation for that. Because of the fact that Link is now in an alternate world, he's basically fighting an alternate universe's version of a Demon King.
Absolutely, and like all these demons is like come out of nowhere. Cause like it's like we talked about like demons have been a very occurring thing like and like throughout the Zelda series. Like take Demon King Demise, or like of course we have Ganondorf himself. Heck, even take Majora's Mask, who also within the power inside the mask is a demon.
Yeah, Majora was a literal demon. Like, and also, if you think about it, though, Bellum was literally as demon-like as he could get. He literally takes over a sacred place and makes it all demonic. He can steal the life energy out of anyone who enters there. He literally summons other demons to basically try to kill you.
Yep, and he crafted the ghost ship.
Not to mention, he literally possesses Lineback.
Yep. Yep.
Like, straight up possesses him like an actual, demon would.
Yeah.
Which is kind of freaky.
It is really freaky. So, honestly, I would have to think that, of course, I was thinking about this earlier, and I don't remember if it's confirmed or not, but I think it was Oshus himself who actually was the one who crafted the Phantom Hourglass, because when you do gotta think about it, Oshus created the Phantom Hourglass himself to keep the Temple of the Ocean King, his place, safe and protected from evil. Of course, we all know that didn't work because Bellum came in and took over.
Yeah, it was Oshus that created it.
Okay, so Oshus did create it. Okay, I kind of figured it was Oshus though, but
yeah. Oshus himself confirmed that when he gives you the hourglass.
Yeah, he did make it though, but not to mention, can we talk? So one thing I do want to think about is what do you think happened to Lineback? Because here's the thing that kind of surprises me. So here's the thing: the entire adventure in Phantom Hourglass confirms that confirmed by Mako himself, one of the pirates, is that the entire adventure to where Link and Zelda were gone, they were in the world of the Temple of the Ocean King for 10 minutes. They were in there for 10 minutes, and when they get back home, they see, like, Link actually sees Lineback's ship, like, out in the distance. So, I want to know is, whatever happened to Lineback?
I think... Okay, my thought process on that is, what if Lineback actually wasn't from the Ocean King's world? What if he was actually from the same world as Link? Because after leaving there, why else would you see his ship in the distance?
This is true. I mean, he probably could have stumbled upon, the ghost ship created by Bellum, because if you remember, Bellum was the one who crafted the ghost ship in Phantom Hourglass, and it was more set up like as a trap, and to where he can suck up people. It could suck up people's life force, and even starting that rumor saying that for those who find it will find treasure, which of course Lineback kind of ate it up, and thankfully he did not get his life force taken. He just got possessed.
Yeah, but if you think about it, that would also explain why he was in the frickin' Temple of the Ocean King and trapped there.
Yep.
Because, honestly, we never really got a real explanation for that. He was just kind of there, like, hey.
He was just there, doing pirate things, looking for treasure, like what he does best, kind of like a pirate's life for him.
Yep. But also, another reason that would explain it is because that's literally how Link and Tetra ended up there.
Exactly, no. So, my question is, how do you think that this whole entire adventure for Link and Tetra only took them 10 minutes to be in there, according to Mako, one of the Tetra's pirates?
Okay, so I'm gonna use a little bit of Kingdom Hearts logic for this, actually.
Oh boy, I want to hear this one.
Okay, so here's with this. In the Kingdom Hearts universe, there are several different worlds, correct?
Yes.
Each world has a different time axis.
Yeah.
For example, in Traverse Town, for example, a day could pass there, but in another world, like say Wonderland, an hour could probably pass there.
Yeah.
Within the same time frame. That's because these worlds are separate from each other and they all run on different time axes. Now, with that line of thinking in mind, let's go back to the whole fact that the Ocean King's world is a completely different world.
Yep.
It's separate from the world that Link came from. So if we're going by that same logic, two different worlds, aka one's a parallel world from the other, they're running on two different time axes.
Yep.
Which would explain why, when he got back, Nico literally said, "Y'all were only gone for 10 minutes."
Yeah, because like after playing it, it kind of stumped me. Like I was like, honestly, it did not feel like freaking 10 minutes.
Yeah, no, like in that world, obviously several days had passed in that world, but otherwise, back home, 10 minutes had only passed. But that, I feel like it's because in the Ocean King's world, time moves at a different pace in a different axis. Like, it moves at a faster rate.
This I can definitely agree, because honestly, when you do think about it, you know, the world of the Temple of the Ocean King, and of course you have the Phantom Hourglass, so it could probably be the reason why, like, time, as you said, time runs at a certain pace is probably because of the power of the Phantom Hourglass and the Sand of Hours.
Well, it's not necessarily the hourglass itself that controls the time flow there. It's because different worlds run on different time axes in general. It's not just Kingdom Hearts that uses this logic. It's other games that revolve around different world travel that use this logic as well.
Right.
So if we're just basically taking that general logic into account here, the fact that that world's a parallel world in the first place on its own means that it sits on a separate time axis.
Right.
However, I will say this though, you're not too far off the mark with the Phantom Hourglass, because what does an hourglass represent?
Time.
It represents time. What happens whenever you actually go into the Temple of the Ocean King while you have the Phantom Hourglass? You are put on a timer.
Exactly. And of course you also have, of course, another creature created by Bellum, of course, the Phantoms. And honestly, if you look closely, Sora, you can definitely tell that they do have Bellum's eye on their backs.
Yep. That's another not representation. Well, actually, no. I guess representation works. So that's another thing that represents the whole thing. Like, there are otherworldly creatures as well, created by a demon. And this demon is basically capable of absorbing life force and even like the Sand of Hours.
Yeah, exactly. Because because not only was this, because because honestly, when you do think about it, it's kind of interesting to think about, because you kind of have to think about what Oshus actually says about Bellum and all this other stuff. Which, of course, he kind of says, and I quote, "As you know, every creature in this world possesses a sacred power. This power is called life force. The Sand of Hours is a physical manifestation of that power. And that is what brought them here."
Yeah, there's also another thing I just thought of, actually, that kind of goes along with my theory of Bellum being an actual demon.
Yeah.
It actually goes to the eye design of Bellum.
Yes.
There's another eye that I took a look at, and Bellum's eye it doesn't represent it, but it's actually kind of inspired by the eyes on Majora's Mask.
Yeah, there could be representation there, like, being another demon.
Yeah, like, the eyes are very similar. Granted, the colors are a little different, but the structure's kind of the same. I'm actually going to send you a couple pictures.
Okay, that's totally fair.
Alright, see, I just sent the picture of Bellum. If you take a look at that and look at his eye,
yeah,
and then compare the eye to Majora's Mask. Notice some similarities here. It's not just the eye, but it's the color of the entire mask.
It's definitely, it's the color, the pupil and everything.
The pupil, not to mention, Bellum's eye is also basically the same shade of purple as Majora's Mask itself. Then, of course, you have the outer part of the eye, which is orange, which is the same color as the outer part of Majora's Mask eyes.
Yep.
And then you got the inner part, which is like the yellow and the green on both.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, and as we know, Majora was also a literal demon.
Yep.
Not like that. That's one thing people forget. Majora wasn't a mask. Majora was a demon possessing a mask.
Pretty much. Yep. And of course, we got to see the demon for ourselves back on the moon.
Yep.
It was kind of. It was definitely kind of crazy though, but definitely, you know, Phantom Hourglass has a lot of its charm. But honestly, for a DS Zelda game, for a game that's underrated, it is pretty creepy.
Yep. But it's not without its faults.
Exactly. Also, real quick, I do want to throw in something that, by looking at this, we got something that we want to address as well, Sora.
And that is what?
So, check this out before we begin to move on from our next game. So, Marina actually says, I wonder in the Ocean King's world, Bellum is that world's Ganon, if that makes sense. Considering Bellum legit means war, while Demise is a personification of death, who knows?
Actually, if that is true, that kind of backs up my theory on the whole demon thing even more. Because, here's the thing. Ganon was literally Hyrule's Demon King, at least after Demise.
Yeah, and it was with a bunch of... And Demise was a demon who had like so much hatred, but also malice as well.
Yep. But looking into Phantom Hourglass's world, you could basically say Bellum is that world's Demon King, which is a direct parallel to Ganon.
So, it definitely could be a possibility.
Yeah, so, honestly, I think Marina's kind of right there.
Yeah, I definitely do think about that. I do think about it, but, I think we've covered enough already for Phantom Hourglass.
Well, I actually have one more thing I want to say about Phantom Hourglass.
Okay, shoot.
The Temple of the Ocean King sucks.
Yes, but yeah, if any of y'all start playing Phantom Hourglass, just a fair warning, the Phantom Hourglass is atrocious because you have to go back and forward, back and forward, back and fucking forward, over and over again. It's annoying.
Yep. You go to the frickin' Temple of the Ocean King, you do puzzles, you get a map, you follow that map to a dungeon, complete the dungeon. You go back to the Temple of the Ocean King, do all the puzzles again, gain one new floor, get another map, go to the next dungeon, and then repeat the entire thing over and over and over. And you have to repeat the same crap every time you go back there, and it is annoying.
It is completely stupid. But yeah, I think we've covered everything else here for Phantom Hourglass.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm not gonna go on a rant about the Temple of the Ocean King.
We can't let it run.
I kid you not. I could sit here and rant about that place for hours because
same, Sora, same. I agree. I 100% agree. But anyway, guys, so we're gonna move on to our next game to wrap up the adult timeline, and that is, of course, what a lot of people consider to be the best DS Zelda game, and also Sora's favorite 2D Zelda game. And that is Spirit Tracks. So Sora, real quick, do you want to tell the audience about why you love Spirit Tracks so much? Why is it your favorite 2D Zelda game? Because I know you told me this countless times that it's your favorite 2D Zelda. So why is that the case? Like, what makes this one so special compared to other 2D Zeldas like Phantom Hourglass, Link to the Past, Link Between Worlds, etc.?
I'm actually going to give my story summary on this first before I actually dive into that.
Okay.
Alright, so yeah, to start off the Spirit Tracks portion, keep in mind, I also just got this typed up before stream, so it's not very well structured,
It's
but
okay.
it's accurate enough. So yeah, Spirit Tracks is the sequel to the infamous Phantom Hourglass, which takes place 100 years later. It released on the DS in 2009 and got a re-release on the Virtual Console on Wii U in 2016. It hasn't been re-released since. Spirit Tracks follows a new incarnation of Link, who resides in New Hyrule under the care of Nico. He sets out to become a train engineer, so he can further serve the kingdom, and journeys to Hyrule Castle to receive her certificate from Princess Zelda. It's here where Zelda informs Link that she needs to visit the Tower of Spirits, as she learns that the tracks are vanishing and suspects that something is happening there. On their way to the tower, the tracks vanish on them and they get attacked by Zelda's Chancellor, a man named Cole, who turns out to be a demon in disguise, and his henchman Burn, who both try to stop Zelda from reaching the tower. He then uses his dark magic to attack Zelda and literally splits her soul from her body and proceeds to steal it. But after waking up in Hyrule Castle, Link finds the spirit of Zelda now separated from her body floating around and meets up with her, where they decide to make one last attempt to go to the tower. Once they finally arrive, they learn that Chancellor Cole is out to erase the Spirit Tracks in order to break the seal that is holding Malladus, who is a demon king who was sealed away during a war that took place between the demons and spirits of good that took place long before New Hyrule was ever established. So now Link and Zelda have to team up, literally for the first time ever, which I thought was cool, to basically restore the Spirit Tracks and stop Cole from reviving the Demon King, and who wants to destroy and conquer New Hyrule. And that's basically the whole story summary of Spirit Tracks, or at least the basic story summary.
Pretty much, yeah.
There's obviously a lot more to it, but
yeah.
My main reason for this being my favorite 2D Zelda is because this is probably the most unique one that has ever come out. Like, it's literally the first time, and pretty much the only time, that Link and Zelda actually team up. Like, Zelda's not exactly a damsel in distress. Yeah, her body's stolen, but she's not exactly a damsel in distress in this game. She literally teams up with you this time around.
Yes. And
plus, what was you about to say?
No, I was gonna say I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah. Plus, I thought the train mechanic was just fun. Like, yeah, sometimes the train rides are slow, but it was the most unique form of travel, because in every other Zelda game you've had to travel either by horseback or by boat. But in this one, you actually ride around on a train, which the train is fun.
Oh yeah, this I can definitely agree. Because like in Phantom Hourglass, how you can customize Linebeck's ship, you can actually customize the Locomo train. Yeah,
and that's another thing I actually liked. You could literally customize this train to have like a cannon and all this other crap. Like, I'm gonna challenge you on this. Name me one other game where you can literally ride around on a train that has a cannon.
None. Spirit Tracks is the one who did it first.
Exactly. It's still the only game to ever do that.
Yes. But yeah, pretty much to sum things up what Sora said about the story though. So yeah, so this game takes place 100 years after the events of Phantom Hourglass. So, of course, this is a new incarnation of Link. Well, he does look look a lot similar to the hero Wins himself. However, it's not him. It's just another kid who definitely has his name. So this is definitely a different incarnation. Nico, who Sora was talking about, he is actually the same pirate Nico who actually used to be on an adventure with Tetra and the pirates along with the hero Wins himself, who actually resided here, of course, in the land of New Hyrule. But one thing I do want to talk about as well is, of course, like how before all this began, with the Demon King Malladus, how pretty much the world itself and the Tower of Spirits that we get to explore, how the Tower of Spirits and the Spirit Tracks themselves actually played as like a lock to keep Malladus sealed away.
Yeah, and this is actually another reason why Spirit Tracks is my favorite 2D Zelda, it actually fixed a very big complaint I had with Phantom Hourglass.
Temple of the Ocean King.
Yes. Like, yes, you have to go back to the Tower of Spirits every time you complete a dungeon, just like you had to do with the Temple of the Ocean King. But the difference is you're not forced to repeat the same crap over and over and over again.
Yes. Yeah, the Tower of Spirits was a major step up, and honestly, it was much better, much more fun. Not to mention the fact that you get to have Zelda run around in a phantom armor while she's in a spirit form.
Yeah, plus one thing I really liked about this was they really overhauled this place. Like, the Tower of Spirits is probably one of the most well-crafted dungeons in Zelda history.
It really is though. Like, the Tower of Spirits definitely plays a really big part in this game, especially for the Locomo people, such as, of course, people like Angine and the rest of the Locomo spirits that Link and Zelda actually interact with in order to restore the Spirit Tracks. Because honestly, we know about Fem is that they definitely play a huge part of this world, and even it's kind of true to when Angie actually says that she actually knew about Zelda's ancestor, which of course, in this case, I'm sure that she's referring to probably Zelda's, and this Princess Zelda, Spirit Tracks Zelda's grandmother, aka Tetra. Possibly.
Yeah, that kind of makes me wonder how old Angine really is.
Yeah, and I want to know, like, and I'm thinking maybe somewhere down the line after Phantom Hourglass, like when New Hyrule was established, probably around that time, like, you know, when it was being when it was being established. You know, the Hero of Winds and Tetra actually got to meet Angine, and that's why he tells this Princess Zelda in this game years later, like, oh, I knew about your ancestor.
Yeah, Zelda was like, wait, what?
It's like you know about my ancestor? It's like, oh, yes.
How do you know my ancestor? Who are you?
Sora, so looking at this game now, you know, we're in a new location. Of course, we all know that Hyrule, it was years later, is still, the old Hyrule is still flooded because of the Golden Goddesses from Wind Waker. And
the old Hyrule's non-existent at this point.
Yeah, it's literally
gone. It's literally just gone.
It's just gone.
It's as if it never existed.
And now we have a new land to where it represents New Hyrule, to which they actually call it.
Yeah, and one thing I find interesting about this Hyrule, this is the only Hyrule in the entire series where there's no Triforce.
There actually is no Triforce, but we do have some representation of the Triforce, and that is the one of the items that we get in this game, which of course I talked about earlier, which of course, Force Gems.
Yeah, the Force Gems make a return for sure, but the Triforce themselves, they're gone. They were washed away with old Hyrule.
They definitely weren't. They were just completely wiped out, but honestly, there is a chances are that these Force Gems probably might have a connection to the Triforce, since of course it's no longer here right now.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, one thing I do want to talk about is, of course, I want to talk about the for this part now. I do want to talk about the two villains in this room. Of course, that'll be Chancellor Cole and Demon King Malladus. So, I want to start with Cole first. So, I want to say, he's a fucking asshole.
I want to punt that little runt like a football and send him straight to Death Mountain.
But also, it's kind of interesting, like, how with Chancellor Cole, who actually served as a Chancellor for the royal family in Hyrule, but not to mention, he was confirmed to be a demon in disguise.
Yeah, and one thing I found kind of funny was, like, when this reveal was taking place, he literally said, "Who would have thought that Chancellor was just another word for royal babysitter?"
Well, yeah, I kind of wanted to pun him too, but
I was sitting here like, what?
So,
did you really just say that?
So, yes, but now one thing I want to talk about is with Chancellor Cole is, like, he just, you know, we don't know much about him or where he came from. We just know that he definitely served the royal family of Hyrule in secret while he definitely played in reality, he played as a demon trying to, like, you know, make the Spirit Tracks vanish and the Tower of Spirits separated into different pieces so that way he can actually free Malladus from his imprisonment. So, my question is, where do you think, I know we talked about this with Bellum, but where do you think Cole came from? Like, what do you think made him want to come to Hyrule?
Okay, so here's my thoughts on that. Let's look at his companion at this particular moment. Burn.
Yes, Burn. Yes, I want to talk about him too. Burn.
Well, my thoughts on Cole, in order for me to get those across, I'm going to have to talk about Burn a little bit.
Oh, yeah, we can talk about Burn.
So, let's take a look at him.
Okay.
Let's keep in mind of a couple things. One, he wasn't always, quote-unquote evil. He was a good guy.
Yes.
But he basically allowed Cole to influence him. But there's another thing.
Yep.
He was once friends with Angine.
This is true. And I do remember talking about that.
And it's later discovered that he is, in fact, a Locomo, just like her and the other Locomos found throughout Hyrule.
Yep. This is actually true, too.
Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is if that's the case, what is he doing with Chancellor Cole?
It probably would, for me, with Chancellor Cole, I happen to say, like, it probably has to be manipulation.
But there's one more thing. My thought on that is, what if Chancellor Cole was originally a Locomo? Because if you think about it like this, what did the Locomo do?
Pretty much, they were part of the Spirits of Good, to where they had to prevent the Spirit Tracks from vanishing, and of course, to make sure that Malladus keeps locked up. Because the whole thing that the Spirit Tracks and the Tower of Spirits played as a lock to keep Malladus in prison, to make sure he doesn't get out.
Yep, that was basically their way of serving the Kingdom of Hyrule. But let's also keep this one thing in mind. They serve Hyrule by nature. So, in terms of doing that, the reason I feel Cole decided to basically play as a Chancellor is because that was still part of his nature at the time. Yeah. But what happens to a spirit of good when they turn evil?
They turn to demon.
Exactly. The Locomos are basically spirits of good who served Hyrule. But Chancellor Cole turned evil. So someone who was once a Locomo became a demon.
Exactly. So it could be a possibility that maybe Cole was probably once one of the Locomo people. And that kind of explains, like, if we take a look at his stature, he's pretty short, kind of like the rest of the Locomo people, like Angine and the rest of the Locomos that Link and Princess Zelda actually interact with.
Yep, but there's one more thing too.
Shoot.
This would also explain how he knew everything he knew about the Tower of Spirits, how the Spirit Tracks were literally the seal keeping Demise intact, how Princess Zelda's body was the key to all of that, and how her body would serve as a vessel for the Demon King. That is information known to the Locomos. You find out all of these from the Locomo people, yet Chancellor Cole knew all that.
Exactly. It's kind of really interesting to think about, like, how an antagonist like Chancellor Cole, like, knew about all this stuff. Like, he knew about the Tower of Spirits, what key component it had to play, in the land of New Hyrule, along with the Spirit Tracks. And now that he knew that there was a demon who resided within the land of New Hyrule, and of course was going to use its power to, to take over New Hyrule.
Yep. And, like, keeping all that in mind, that's all stuff he should not have known unless he was a Locomo.
Exactly, though.
So that's where I think he came from.
He probably did. And then, of course, speaking of demons, I do want to take a dive to the other demon. The next demon that we want to talk about, the big boy, and the big boy here, we want to talk about Demon King Malladus. Now, for starters, though, before we just talk about him, this is not the first time that in several Zelda games we've had characters and we've had villains who mostly played as Demon Kings, but mostly demons. Like, you've had Demon King Demise. You've had other demons throughout the Zelda universe. Heck, you've even had Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom. Huh? Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
But yeah, there's been an ongoing thing with how literally most villains have the title Demon King. So I know we talked about this earlier with Bellum, about like how he probably was one of the reoccurring demons that started at the very beginning of the timeline, you know, with the whole battle against the goddess Hylia. So could it be possible that Maldiz was one of those demons?
Yep, I kind of think so, for a few reasons.
Okay.
Let's keep this in mind. What happened to Ganondorf at the end of Wind Waker?
Well, he got turned into stone.
Exactly. Link literally stabbed him in the forehead, the Master Sword turned him to stone, and he was washed away completely with Hyrule.
Yes. Oh, and also real quick, before we go back into Maldiz real quick, there's one thing we forgot to talk about, Sora, is
what?
We forgot to talk about the two main swords in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks. We have the Phantom Sword and the Locomo Sword. Now, when you look at them, they kind of resemble a bit, like in terms of design, they definitely do resemble the Master Sword a little bit.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do.
So it's very interesting, like how these are kind of like the new Master Swords. As we all know, the Master Sword in the adult timeline is at the bottom of the ocean because of what the Hero Winds did to Ganondorf.
Yep, it was still stuck inside his forehead when it got washed away. So the Master Sword is gone for good by this point.
So pretty much both the Phantom Sword and the Locomo Sword here in Spirit Tracks are definitely like the quote the new Master Swords, because you know, in most Zelda games we've had like mystical swords that have not been the Master Sword. Like we've had, of course, obviously the Phantom Sword from Phantom Hourglass, the Locomo Sword from Spirit Tracks. We've had the Magical Sword in the original Legend of Zelda. We've had the Picori Blade in Minish Cap. There's been a lot of mystical blades throughout the entire Zelda universe that has, of course, you know, with no Master Sword being involved.
Not to mention the Picori Blade later became the Force Sword.
This is true. Absolutely
that,
true, though.
Yep. Out of all of those, the Master Sword is probably the most represented by that one.
It definitely is. It definitely is.
At least in terms of sheer design.
Exactly. So, anyway, going back to Maldiz, do you think that he was one of those demons?
Yeah, I was actually getting to that.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, because going back to what I said, Ganondorf was literally washed away to God knows where at this point, along with New Hyrule.
Yeah.
Or along with Old Hyrule, I mean. Like, Old Hyrule's just wiped out of existence, Master Sword and Ganondorf went along with it. So, keeping that in mind, this takes place 100 years after all of that, where we now have New Hyrule, new establishment, new everything. Triforce completely gone. So the Locomos basically take the place of the Golden Goddesses here, to be honest. Because if you think about it, they basically serve Hyrule and keep the place protected and serve the royal family in similar ways.
Exactly.
But going back to all of that, who were the spirits of good that fought the demons and the Demon King years ago?
The Locomos.
Yep. They are the ones who sealed the Demon King away. But why did this demon exist? Where did it come from? It still had to have come from Demise's curse because of two particular individuals, Link and Zelda.
Yep.
Even though Hyrule is gone, the Triforce is gone, and the Master Sword is gone, you still have Zelda, who still, even after all these years, possesses the spirit of the goddess, and Link, who possesses the spirit of the hero. The only difference is the era that they're in. But since Ganondorf is gone, a new demon had to have been born. And it was during this war where this Demon King took place.
Yep, and of course, that's when we were going about with the whole with Demon King Demise, with the whole Demon's Curse thing.
Yep, so during this war, this Demon King basically rose to power, and well, like after being born and crap, and just like how Ganondorf was sealed away in the Sacred Realm, this demon was sealed away for years.
Yeah, and the funny
thing... And now its seal is breaking.
Exactly, and the thing about this one is that this one does not have any... Which, of course, I could be wrong. This demon Malladus might have a consumption, maybe with... Kind of like with so much malice, though. Kind of like with how mostly a lot of demons are mostly filled with hatred and malice.
Yeah, well, if you think about it, what shows up right before Demise is actually reborn. A giant tornado of malice.
Exactly. And think about what happens, like, around the time when Princess Zelda gets, of course, possessed by Malladus in its body. There's even a freaking demon train to go with it.
Yeah, the demon train thing was kind of odd, to be honest, but it was cool.
It was odd, but really, really creepy, though. But also, one thing I do want to talk about is, of course, we do have another musical instrument, the Spirit Flute.
Yeah, I was actually going to bring that up, because like, I have questions on where that flute came from. Aside from, like, the only obvious choice would be the Locomos.
So, it could be a possibility that maybe the Locomos were the one who designed it, but think about this. What if the first person who found it was Spirit Tracks Princess Zelda's ancestor, aka Tetra?
That actually would make sense, because if you think about it, Aunt Jean did say that Spirit Flute was passed down from generation to generation, and that Zelda's ancestors were the ones who originally had it.
Yeah, and of course, so Aunt Jean said that the ancestors knew about it and the Spirit Flute. So technically, it would make sense that the hero of winds from Wind Waker, Phantom Hourglass, and Tetra herself, before she passed on, probably, knew about the Spirit Flutes, and thus, of course, later on, the Spirit Flute got passed on to Spirit Tracks Princess Zelda herself.
Yeah, definitely. But it still had to have only been created by the Locomos, because if you think about it, they are the only ones who really knew how to use it outside of the Hyrule family.
This is definitely true.
Not to mention, each one has a song that corresponds to them that unlocks more parts of the map by basically producing more Spirit Tracks.
Exactly, especially getting more items, because like in other Zelda games, you can also get, of course, the light arrow, which definitely plays a key component into sealing demons away.
Yep, and I swear the light arrows in this game are fun to use.
Oh yeah, they really are.
Although they're not as overpowered as Wind Waker's light arrows. But that's a topic for another day.
Now, so we all know at the end of Spirit Tracks, we all know that Malladus, who actually possessed mostly Chancellor Cole, because you kind of remember they merged together.
Yep.
So, do you think, in a certain point in another game, do you think it would be possible that maybe both Chancellor Cole and Demon King Malladus might return, or do you think they're gone and wiped out for good? Because we all know Bellum is gone. He's not coming back.
With how Spirit Tracks ended, it's still technically possible for Malladus to return. Cole, not sure about. Malladus, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's a chance he could return.
Exactly.
Because if you think about it, Vaati returned twice after Minish Cap?
Yep, and in the original Four Swords, and then we of course saw Vaati in Four Swords Adventures in a different timeline.
Yep. And one thing that was kind of confirmed is whenever Vaati got all of his power, he calls himself a sorceress, but it was actually kind of confirmed that he basically became a demon.
He pretty much did become a demon, and honestly, one thing I want to address real quick is think about this. So if Bellum actually took up a lot of people's life force, especially with the ocean, like he did with the Ocean King, and the thing is, if he took up Tetra's life force, that creature would have been completely unstoppable.
Yep, but he was destroyed and all that life force was basically released, which is why he got wiped out of existence. Yep. In Malladus' case, though, that wasn't it. Malladus wasn't actually, full-on destroyed. Yeah. He was basically resealed away.
So chances are, he could you know, he could probably come back if he wanted to.
Yeah, and as Damer said, Malladus literally ate Cole. So, he had him for breakfast. He ain't coming back.
Yeah, he is not coming back, though. But honestly, so pretty much, you know, one thing for sure is, looking at the final boss fights, the final boss fight, of course, in freaking Spirit Tracks. Honestly, this was a major step up when you think about it.
Yeah, like, I did like the final boss in Phantom Hourglass, though, I will say. Like, you're basically on, like, this big floating plank of wood. Literally just you and the freaking demon-possessing, lineback. Yep. And you're basically engaging in a straight-up fight where it's either you win or you die. Exactly.
And then, like... No, I was like, exactly, I agree.
Right, but, what was I gonna say? In Spirit Tracks, they turned everything up for this.
They really did turn up a notch, especially with the second time in a DS Zelda game with possessing someone's body, in this case with Malladus possessing Princess Zelda's body while her spirit travels with Link throughout New Hyrule.
Well, it's not necessarily just that, but for one, the stakes are a lot higher because it's not just Hyrule that's in danger. It's pretty much the entire world that's in danger at this point.
Pretty much, yep.
Plus, what I liked about this though was Zelda literally teams up with you for this fight. Like, yeah, I mean, she teams up with you for the whole game, but once she gets her body back, she doesn't go back to being, like, you know, typical Princess Zelda who hides and all this crap. She literally actually fights with you.
Exactly. Like, she's changed.
Like, yeah, this fight actually shows her character development the best in the whole series. Because, like, she learns from everything you've gone through. You have to protect her while she charges up all of her power, and that part's actually kind of frustrating. But once you protect her, you have to combine her power with the power of the Spirit Flute to basically create a weak point on the Demon King. And then Link has to distract the Demon King while Zelda basically fires light arrows at it.
Exactly, and honestly, it's a really interesting fight because mostly in some Zelda games, like, we've had turns where, like, Zelda would help Link. Like, for example, like, in Twilight Princess, you know, like, where Zelda had to ride on the opponent with Link while she shot light arrows at Ganondorf.
Yeah, but other than that, Zelda mostly sat on the sidelines and let Link do all the fighting.
Pretty much.
But what I really liked with Spirit Tracks was this time Zelda actually felt more important because she was actually helping you through the entire thing, including the last fight. Like, she wasn't like, okay, I got my body back, you can go kill that thing on your own. She basically stood there and was like, we're taking this demon down together now.
Yeah, and not to mention, like, she was even gripping on tight to the hilt of Link's Locomo sword and trying to, like, stab, like, Malladus right into the skull, so it was pretty much like Wind Waker all over again just to steal his ass away.
Yeah, like, Link couldn't stab the Demon King in the forehead with that sword by himself. Zelda had to actually help him do it.
Exactly, and that was ruined, and honestly, this kind of makes me give a lot of props to how special this incarnation of Princess Zelda really is, because this makes her, because like I always said, you know, she has a bit of character development. Like, she grows from just being just a damsel in distress and just being a carefree princess to one who just grows. She's more mature, and I feel like that throughout this adventure, like, Link was her encouragement. So after watching him, like, do all the fighting and spending time with him, she kind of took inspiration with him. So I guess you can say Link was kind of like a teacher to her.
Yeah, like, she wasn't just another damsel in distress this time. She was literally your companion.
She literally was, and, like, Link, just by being there, he to me, not only was he, like, a good teacher, but after, like, doing everything that he does, he pretty much just showed her, like, hey, you know, when you're with me around, you can definitely understand that there's no need to fear.
Plus, Zelda had some pretty fun, wacky moments. Like, when she first learned that she could possess phantoms, she was like, oh yeah, let's go, baby.
But we all know she still has a side to her. She's still scared of mice.
Oh yeah, she's still scared of mice. And I'm sitting here like Zelda. You are literally wearing a giant phantom armor with a sword that's like 5 times the size of that little rat.
Just kill it!
Yeah, just kill it. Why do I have to be the one to do it?
She's like, you do it, and you're just like, fine.
Yeah, but other than that, she's like, all right, I'm gonna go kill something. That's one thing that still confuses me though. She'll literally use that sword to kill monsters. Like, she'll shield herself from fire and all this other crap, and like even take on a demon. But a little mouse, she cowers in fear. I'm like, that mouse is more harmless than everything else you're trying to murder.
Oh my god. That's just perfect. But honestly, you know, it's just really interesting to think about, you know?
Yeah, it is.
So, definitely at the end of the day, we all know that, of course, after the end of Spirit Tracks, you know, the world of Hyrule gets restored to peace. Peace is once restored, and of course, you know, Zelda goes back to, like, being herself. Of course, at the ending, you get to decide whether you want to be a train engineer, or if you want to be, a sword fighter to serve the royal family, or both.
Yep.
So, and honestly, and the thing is, you know, we don't, and it's kind of sad that we don't get to hear from the Welcomos anymore. Like, they're just gone. Like, Angene's gone, but they're all gone. But honestly, the cutest thing to say is the ending to where Link and Zelda got to hold hands. That was really cute.
Yeah, that's actually another thing. Like, Link and Zelda's relationship, unlike other Zelda games, was actually nourished and flourished throughout this whole game.
Exactly.
Like, they actually grew closer together. Whereas in other Zelda games, it kind of felt forced a bit.
Exactly. And honestly, when you do think about it, like, trying to take Zelda from Minish Cap, like, they were their childhood friends. Same with Zelda from Skyward Sword, you know. But they just didn't spend that much time together. But in this game, they spend a lot of time together, and you can definitely tell, and that, you know, Link really cares about her. And plus, we kind of already know he does kind of have a crush on her, because at the beginning, you can definitely tell that, like, he starts blushing when he first sees her. Even the moment she hugs him, when she gets her body back, I'm like, oh yeah, he's, you know, you got a little crush there, buddy.
Yeah, Link's just like, ooh, the princess, blush, blush, blush.
Blush, blush, blush. Oh my god, but yeah, so yeah, at the end of this game, you know, everything goes back to peace, and like from there, like, nothing else happens throughout. Of course, you know, in the adult timeline, like, everything is free, everything is restored. Like, once again, like, everything is all calm and crystal clear.
Yep.
So I think we've covered everything here.
Yep, that wraps up the adult timeline pretty well.
So,
although, I do want to call out Nintendo on one thing.
Yes.
I get why they did this, but I'm just going to call Nintendo and say, hey, y'all call this the adult timeline, and Adult Link's nowhere to be found. I'm watching all of y'all.
Well, we do know why about that.
Yeah, I know why. I just think it's a little strange.
It is. You can thank Anuma for that.
Yep. Dang you, Alnuma. Dang you.
Dang you, Anuma. One thing I do want to talk about is, of course, so yeah, just like Sora said, we do officially wrap up the adult timeline for Triforce Tuesdays. So guys, I just want, from me and Sora here, we want to thank you for tuning in to the Triforce Tuesday series. So guys, I have officially covered every single timeline in the Legend of Zelda series. We've come a really long way. We started all the way from Skyward Sword, and now we're already here. First, we started with the Child timeline, then we did the Fallen timeline, and then we even did, now, the Adult timeline. So that is done. So, Sora, should I talk about what I'm actually going to cover next, now that all of the 3 main timelines are done?
I say now would be the perfect time, actually.
Actually, I will. So, guys, be sure to come back next week, as this will be my next Zelda game for Triforce Tuesdays. Please take a look.
Enjoy.
So yes, you have heard and seen, you have seen that correctly. Feast your eyes, as starting next week, the next game for Triforce Tuesdays, I will be diving in to Breath of the Wild.
And it's going to be a wild ride.
Oh dear God. So we are going to be starting Breath of the Wild next. So guys, I just want to say this is going to be it for the end of the podcast. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. And also, if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to follow. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that good jazz. Really helps out. And also, go follow Sora on Twitch. Link will be in the description. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thank you guys so much. Peace out.